Hi, Hannah. How are you?
Hi, I'm all right, thank you. Just standard. Life in 2021 is a bit strange, but other than that, I'm okay. How about you?
That's good. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Like you say, it's been a very, very strange year, tough times for everyone. Um,
Mm.
and we're quite lucky, really, that we've got something to plan for now with the Legacy of Lace project. And I'm delighted that you've agreed to be artist in residence as part of the project.
I'm
So
so I'm so grateful for you to ask me. It seems such a strange time. So when you got in touch, I just thought, oh yeah, give me something to do, please.
yeah, and hopefully it'll give us time to experiment and explore new ways of working and get new ideas. So I'm really looking forward to what we'll all do. Now you're a photographer. I know you actually from a singing chorus that I joined not that long ago. And from then I don't know you that well. I've just seen your photography, followed you on Twitter and everything, and just been really impressed by your beautiful photos and filmmaking. And I just love the emotion that you capture in the pictures. They're just so natural. I think like there's love at the very heart of all the images. So can you tell me how you came to come to photography? Did you have when was the first time you had a camera? How old were you when you got your first camera?
I remember I got it I think it was for my birthday when I was about 7, and it was like this big chunky plastic thing that was blue and yellow and red, and I was a bit of a pain really because I used to just go through all these rolls of film really quick, it wasn't like having a digital camera. It was just shooting through 24 photos in the space of an afternoon and then being like, okay, can we take it to Boots and get the pictures? And but I guess I was really lucky because um my family were really encouraging and said, oh, these are really lovely. And you look back now and you just think, oh, it's just because like I was a kid and it was cute. Like I see it when my kids do something, I'm like, wow, that's really amazing. um
But isn't it
but
wonderful
it's
that early nurturing, that love of, your family and how they nurtured the creativity early on and how it's made a career for you now. So at what point
yeah.
did you decide what brought you to think of doing photography as a career?
So it was I started in 2010 and I was actually at university doing creative writing. So it was never on my eye line as something I would do as a job. And then I spent my student loan on a DSLR camera, as you do. Though I feel like every time I got my student loan, I would buy something that was just completely unrelated.
Well, that sounds like a
Um,
wise purchase to me, really.
Absolutely, yeah. At the time, I was a bit like, "Am I really going to do this?" But yeah, the so I'd treated myself to a proper camera, and then from there, I was just going out and taking photos of everything anyway. And people would say, "You should be doing photography as a job," but I had never considered it at all. Um, so it was a really kind of a tentative process because it was my hobby and something that I really, really loved. It's always really quite scary to put yourself out there. I
Yeah,
don't know if you've done that
definitely
through
with
art.
something you love. I think that's with being an artist, isn't it? I think because
Mm.
it's just so personal, it's part of you, it's kind of your heart and soul, isn't it? Where it's your self-expression. So it's not easy
Yeah,
to expose that, is it, when you're young, particularly?
definitely.
I think it's really interesting you say that you were doing a creative writing course because that really does add up when you see the images and on your website. I've looked at all your films and photos on your website. It's just stunning, and I think that's probably what you really bring to your photography is that element of story with the images. So I guess your creative writing really helped you
I hope
develop
so because
that.
I'm still paying off the debt from that loan. So I hope it comes in handy a little bit. But yeah, so it was. yeah, it was around that time 2 of my friends were engaged, and we got into a conversation about their wedding photography plans and stuff, and found myself agreeing to shoot their wedding even though I had absolutely no idea. It makes me feel a little bit nervous now. I get sweaty palms thinking about me, like I knew absolutely nothing, and there I was saying I would shoot one of the most important days of their life.
Well, this is it,
So I
because it is the most important day, and it's such a huge responsibility. You know, you've taken those photographs and then you take them home and then you've got to edit them, and it's a huge thing for them to ask you to do that.
definitely, and I think I was really aware of that and wanted to do a good job, especially because it's friends. Like I now, even now, get hesitant if a friend asks me to do it, because you just think if something goes wrong, that could be the end of a friendship. It's so scary. But just kind of went for it and shot a couple of weddings in the run up to their wedding through the university. There were people who were looking for a student photographer to come and take free wedding photos for them,
Yeah.
which was actually the perfect opportunity for me. No pressure. These people didn't want to spend money on wedding photographer, so therefore I kind of could just kind of go, and they were happy with the pictures because they had some pictures, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I just immersed myself in weddings at that point and tried to learn as much as I could so that I didn't ruin my friendship with these wonderful people.
So
But
so
it's so funny.
what's a typical wedding? I mean, obviously there's not a typical wedding, but how do you prepare yourself for a wedding, and what do you do throughout the day? How do you get these magical shots?
So I guess it's all part of like just building a really good relationship with the people that are there. When I first arrive, I don't get my camera out right away. I kind of chat to the people that are there. I get to know mom. I get to know bridesmaids often if I'm starting with women at the beginning of the day. It's just a chance to kind of you kind of get a feel for what's going on, and also in the run up to that as well, communicating with people, finding out what's really important to them and what makes them tick. And because like I feel like although what I started off doing was shooting a wedding as a friend of a couple, I always want to go in feeling like we could be friends in real life, outside of this, that I'm there
Yeah.
as like I can help. I've done this for 10 years. Like I know that if it's raining outside, we don't actually really need to worry about that. I know, where the buttonhole goes, that kind of thing. Making myself useful and gaining their trust is really important, because when
Yeah.
they trust you, they can be themselves, and that's how you can kind of capture that real emotion,
Yeah.
if
And
that makes sense.
you definitely do. And I read one of the quotes which I thought was really, really touching. One of the brides said, Hannah has an eye for beauty in the strangest places. Her images are breathtaking. And I love that, because when you do look at the images, that they're all quirky, unique, and you really get the character of the people who are getting married, which is really
Yeah.
interesting.
I think that's really important, like, because I think like when people think about weddings, they think about the big moments. They think about the first kiss in the ceremony, or walking down the aisle. Whereas actually, a lot of the time, the most significant moments are the bits in between,
Yes.
like the kind of little looks and the nervous kind of people's nervous hands and stuff. Little things that trigger that memory. That's not just the big stuff.
Yeah, actually looking at them, it really made me feel quite emotional, because we've not had these social gatherings for so long, and a wedding, family occasions, we take them for granted, don't we? And
Yeah.
we've had a year without that sort of contact, and you realize how special and precious they are. And even one of the images where there were two ladies in a kitchen cutting up the wedding cake, I just think behind the scenes, the loving family who are doing all the more mundane things to keep the special
Yeah.
day precious. I think it's lovely how every little aspect you've seen. So where is your photography taken you? I know you're based in Derbyshire, and you've done photo shoots all over this country. Where else has it taken you?
So I've done a few sort of destination weddings abroad, mostly in Europe, so France and Italy, and then a few a little bit further afield. The furthest I've been is Sri Lanka, which was it was really strange because that's where it was on New Year's Eve in 2019, so right before 2020, and I remember just being there on this beach as the new year was coming in and just being like, yeah, 2020 is going to be the best year ever. And then I had to go to A&E in Sri Lanka the next day because my eye suddenly really swelled up, and it was just like, this is a real sign of what this year is going to be.
Oh no, and then it all started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is just really funny, because yeah, you just don't know I don't think anyone could have ever foreseen how life would change completely. And like you said, like everything being on hold. I shot a few weddings last year, but it's been different, you know. I think it's a very different thing to capture when you are someone like me. Like, I'm always looking for people hugging, and then all of a sudden, you know, that's not happening anymore, and the story is actually in the spaces between people, the chairs set out in this really unusual way, and the people who are kind of having a little cautious wave, that every now and then someone breaks the rules and goes in for an actual hug, and everyone's like, oh my god, like
Right.
it's a very different kind of story, that's been unfolding in the last year, but also the kind of triumph of the people who have gone ahead and got married in the middle of a pandemic because they just want to be married and they love each other. And that's really powerful to see, and it's nice to have something to celebrate when there's so little celebration. It feels like a real overcoming adversity. So they've been really special, but very strange and different.
Right. Yeah, unprecedented times. I can imagine it's a huge challenge to try and capture the things that you usually look out for. What about future projects? I know you're a keen lover of music, and I think you were looking at a project in the future to.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by the Northern Soul music scene, which if you're not familiar with, is
No, I'm not at all. So please explain.
so it's basically all these it's been going on for quite some time, and it has its roots in these old music venues, where people would hunt for these unknown records of soul music from the States. And it has such a it's really like established, particularly in the north of England, which is where Northern Soul, that's how come it's kind of called that. And you get these really unique dance moves, which are their very own thing. And the thing that I'm really fascinated by whenever I go to a Northern Soul night is watching men dance in a way that I've never seen before. Like, so shooting weddings, I see, like, you see like guys reluctantly kind of on the dance floor, they've been pulled up by the masses and they're doing a little bit of, but at Northern Soul nights you get these men dancing on their own and they're like peacocks, like it's the most phenomenal thing. And there's these like set footwork, bits of footwork that they do, and sometimes you'll get them like greasing up the bottom of their shoes so they can do these amazing spins. And they're all a bit older now and they're still going to these nights, and it's kind of amazing to see. You watch the DJs and they've all got their boxes full of all these singles, and they're playing kind of vinyl, which is really interesting anyway. And it's got this character all of its own. So I'm really fascinated by that scene and the stories that you see, this familiar faces popping up, and you hear people going, oh yeah, he won that competition back in '82 or something. and it's really, they have like fully blown dance competitions, and it's the only context I've ever seen British men on the dance floor on their own doing this amazing kind of thing. I just find it really interesting to see and because it's got its roots in like working class northern culture, I find it really fascinating.
So do you think you'll work towards doing an exhibition with that? I know we've probably got a while to wait yet before you can get in these clubs and places, but what do you think you'll do with that? Do you intend to have exhibitions and things?
Yeah, so I would love to. I've done a couple of times where I've taken my camera along on the nights, and it's really interesting because I still get lots of hit. Like I made a blog post, and I still get lots of hits, and you get people from all over the world, generally like expats, looking in on it because there's such a established scene and little community there. So I would be really interested to attend, particularly like the competitions, photograph that, create like an online exhibition, but also maybe in person as well. At the moment, it's so impossible to imagine anything in person. But
True, yeah.
but yeah,
We can dream, can't we?
and yeah, and also to meet some of the DJs who've done this, and they have these incredible collections of songs that the music as well is so amazing. Like there's songs that you've never heard before, which sound like the greatest Motown record of all time. Like it's just that really incredible wealth of music that nobody has heard apart from in this scene. Yeah, just find it really exciting. Brilliant. And I love the music, and I'm fascinated by the culture.
I'm going to have to get some Northern Soul tunes on the go and
see
what it's all about. Thank you. I did notice on your website you have got some playlists, so that's really helpful. So Hannah, you know, you're joining as an artist in residence to the Legacy of Lace project, and we're going to be having our first visit to the museum, hopefully COVID restrictions permitting soon. I just wonder if you have had any thoughts about what you might be, your starting point might be for the project, and to create some new artwork. What direction do you think you might go in?
So I think about this a lot, and I've got several, like I've got this big, it's getting bigger and bigger, like a mind map type thing where I'm kind of going off, and the thing I keep coming back to is this idea of heritage and story, and I guess that's naturally what I kind of gravitate to. So it's just trying to figure out how best to capture it, and I keep circling around, and whether or not that's working with people who have worked in that industry is something that I keep getting drawn towards. And but what I want to do as well is make sure that I'm kind of pushing the aesthetic, and I'm considering doing some work with double exposures. So perhaps kind of photographing people and then overlaying the texture of lace, and or possibly buildings as well. I'm trying to figure it out, but I keep coming back to this idea of having shadows interlaced with pictures which add a human aspect to it.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Yes, and certainly with the project, I'm hoping to, well, already started to interview people that work within the business. So we will be hopefully making connections with the characters that worked in the industry. So there might be opportunities there to meet up, and
absolutely,
if we can in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I've also been working a lot with virtual photography, so I'm wondering whether or not that, you know, if we're not able to go out and meet these people, whether or not that's something that I can do to incorporate, to create those images of them before it's combined with.
Yeah. So virtual photography, I've seen that some of your images. Can you explain to everybody what you've been doing in lockdown with virtual photography?
Absolutely. So it kind of works a bit like a FaceTime call or a kind of Zoom, a video call, where I'm able to take photos using the person's phone. I use an app called Shutter app, which is really fantastic, and it's brand new, and they've developed it purely so that people can do this, and it's off the back of the pandemic, but it's the most amazing technology. They're such creative people who kind of developed these ideas. You know, the problem is we can't see each other, so how do we facilitate photography for meeting other people? And it means I can connect with anybody in the world, and we take a look around the space that they're in and have a look at the light. Where are the windows? How can we set up the phone? And more often than not, they have their phone attached to a can of beans,
Oh,
which is
anything
like
to hand.
it works really well. Like it's so a friend of mine who's another fantastic photographer called Tim Dunk. He like he should have patented this whole can of beans thing, because without it the phone would be falling over and stuff like that, but it holds it really steady. And it also means that during the shoot the person's having their picture taken by a talking can of beans, which, you know, um, it's impossible to be intimidated by that. Sometimes someone with a big camera is quite intimidating, but a talking can of beans on your shelf, like, you can't help. It's already kind of funny or so weird that you forget that you were nervous about having your picture taken.
Well, it works brilliantly. I've seen a lot of them, and they're just incredible, really, and really capturing this moment in time, which is it's unique, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So Hannah, how will people find out more about your work? Where can they go to have a look at some of these wonderful images and videos?
So I've got my website, which is camerahannah.co.uk, and I also I have Facebook and Instagram pages. Instagram I'm slightly more active on these days, although there's not that much to post at the moment. It's either virtual shoots or it's something from the archives. Like I'm so ready to have new work to share.
So hopefully
really
there'll be images of lace or lace characters at some point. So we'll look forward to that. So and we'll keep everybody posted with what's going on with the residency soon. We're almost out of time, so I'd just like to say a big thank you, Hannah, for this chat today, and we look forward to seeing your work soon and working together.
Thank you.
You take care.
I'm so excited to work together.
Great.
Your passion for it is so inspiring. So I can't wait. I'm feeding off that at the moment. It's really lovely to see. So thank you.
Looking forward to it, Hannah. You have a good day. Take care.
All right, then you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.